Once called America's Buckingham Palace, Pickfair was more than a home. It was the heart of Hollywood's golden age, built by Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. It hosted presidents, royalty, and the biggest stars on Earth, before vanishing forever. You're watching the American Rewind, where history comes back to life. If you love uncovering the lost stories of America, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's step inside Hollywood's most famous house, Pickfair, the rise and fall of Hollywood's most famous mansion. Americans went to the movies every single week. Stars weren't just actors, they were icons. Their faces adorned posters and magazines. Their fashion choices set national trends, and their personal lives inspired endless fascination. On and off screen, they embodied the extravagance and fantasy of the cinematic world. And nothing represented that fantasy better than the sprawling mansions of Hollywood's elite. These estates, with their lush gardens, sparkling pools, and jaw-dropping architecture, were more than homes. They were physical monuments to success, status, and the seductive magic of the movies. Yet fame is fickle, and fortunes can turn quickly. As the studio system collapsed and new entertainment mediums like television emerged, the opulent foundations of Hollywood's grandest homes began to crumble. Many were sold, repurposed, or destroyed. Among the most famous to vanish was the legendary Pickfair, the palace of Hollywood's first true power couple. The birth of Pickfair. The story begins in 1919 when Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, two of the most famous people in the world, married in a whirlwind romance that captured headlines worldwide. Pickford was America's sweetheart, beloved for her charm, intelligence, and talent. Fairbanks was the king of Hollywood, a swashbuckling hero both on and off screen. Together, they were a brand before such things even had a name. They were also savvy business people. Along with Charlie Chaplin and D.W. Griffith, they co-founded United Artists, a studio that gave them unprecedented creative control. Their influence stretched far beyond cinema, into fashion, philanthropy, and even politics. When they bought a modest home on a 15-acre property in Beverly Hills, it was clear they had no intention of keeping things modest for long. They hired Wallace Neff, one of the most sought-after architects in California, to transform the property into something extraordinary. Neff blended Spanish colonial revival architecture with Mediterranean influences, creating a mansion that was elegant, distinctive, and utterly luxurious. The estate was christened Pickfair, a fusion of Pickford and Fairbanks. The name alone soon became synonymous with glamour. Inside a Hollywood wonderland, Pickfair wasn't just a large house, it was a world unto itself. The interiors were a curated blend of history, culture, and indulgence. Leaded glass windows caught the California sunlight, casting jewel-like patterns on the parquet floors. Celestial-themed murals graced the ceilings, while Louis XVI furniture and priceless antiques from Europe and Asia filled every room. The couple's love of travel and culture turned Pickfair into a kind of private museum. There were intricately carved rhinoceros tusks, silver gifts from foreign monarchs, and rare artworks from around the world. But the luxury didn't stop at the decor. Pickfair was equipped with amenities far ahead of its time. The first in-ground swimming pool in Los Angeles, a Western saloon for themed parties, an underground jogging track for Fairbanks' private workouts, tennis courts, stables, and sprawling gardens filled with cypress, olive trees, lavender, and jasmine. the social epicenter of the Roaring Twenties. In the 1920s, Pickfair wasn't just a home. It was the place to be. British naval officer Lord Mountbatten once called it America's Buckingham Palace. And he wasn't exaggerating. The guest list read like a global who's who: Charlie Chaplin, Albert Einstein, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the Barrymores, and countless other luminaries from film, politics, and literature. Will Rogers, the mayor of Beverly Hills at the time, joked that his main job was giving people directions to Mary Pickford's house. And he wasn't far off. An invitation to Pickfair was more than a social courtesy. It was a badge of honor, a signal that you'd arrived in Hollywood's inner circle. Inside, the champagne flowed. The conversation sparkled, and the very air seemed charged with creative energy. The beginning of the end. But Hollywood's golden age was as fragile as it was dazzling. By the early 1930s, both Pickford's and Fairbanks' careers were past their peak. The arrival of talkies had reshaped the industry, and younger stars were capturing the public's attention. The couple's marriage, once a fairy tale romance, began to crumble. In 1936, they divorced, an event that was both a personal heartbreak and a symbolic blow to Pickfair's status. The grand dinners, garden parties, and glittering soirees that had defined the estate came to an end. Pickford remained in the mansion with her third husband, Charles Buddy Rogers, but the magic had faded. A quieter era. Through the 1940s and 1950s, Pickford withdrew from public life, retreating into the mansion as Hollywood evolved around her. She oversaw renovations to modernize certain aspects of the property while keeping its historic charm intact. But the era of the all-powerful movie star was over. The studio system that had once shaped careers and bankrolled palatial homes like Pickfair was gone. Television was on the rise, and a new generation of entertainers ruled the spotlight. Pickfair became less a symbol of the present and more a relic of the past. Vacancy and auctions. Mary Pickford passed away in 1979. For the first time in 6 decades, Pickfair was without its original mistress. The mansion sat empty, slowly slipping into disrepair. In the early 1980s, auctions were held to sell off its treasures. A bittersweet event that attracted history buffs, Hollywood enthusiasts, and collectors eager to own a piece of the golden age. For many, these sales marked the true end of an era. A glimmer of hope. In 1980, Los Angeles Lakers owner Jerry Buss purchased Pickfair for $5.4 million, about $20 million today. Buss saw the mansion's historical significance and used it for charity events, reviving some of its former prestige. The discovery of Mary Pickford's Oscar still in the house added an almost sacred quality to the estate. It seemed, for a moment, that Pickfair might be preserved for future generations. The final curtain. That hope was short-lived. In 1988, Buss sold the mansion to Israeli businessman Meshulam Riklis and his wife, actress Pia Zadora, for $6.7 million. 2 years later, in 1990, most of Pickfair was demolished. The decision shocked and angered preservationists, Hollywood historians, and the public alike. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. publicly questioned why the couple had bought the property only to destroy it. At the time, Zadora claimed the demolition was necessary due to termite damage and structural problems. Years later, she offered another reason. She believed the house was haunted. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a step back in time with us. This has been the American Rewind, bringing history's most fascinating stories back to life.